Thanks very much, Jerry. The other night I was up at the community garden, and I was looking down over the community garden, and the sun was starting to set, and the lights were on over the Little League field. And for once, and you hear these words of the new normal, it was actually nice to sit and see the sights and sounds of Little League baseball back here in Norwood. It just felt right. And joining me here this evening is Mr. George Hawley, who has been instrumental this summer in helping us get baseball back in here to Norwood in these difficult times that they talk about. So George, welcome, and thank you for coming down here tonight to talk to us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. I know you were on earlier this year with Brian Dunn
Yes.
on his sports report, talking about how you were able to bring Babe Ruth baseball back to get it ready for the kids to play this year, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But tell me a little bit about, you've been heavily involved in baseball for a number of years now. How did you initially get involved in it here in the town, and what kind of drew it to you, and what keeps you going?
I guess I'm just a big kid. Growing up in town, we used to play baseball all the time. We had the playground, so I would go to Callahan, and if you didn't get down there by 9:15 in the morning, then you didn't get in the game. You had to wait for someone to get called home, and then we play at night, not too up in the afternoon to get too hot. But I just liked being down the field, and then there was an opening to coach in Little League when I was a senior in high school, and I said, let's try it, and I really liked it, and I coached Little League for 4 years, and then I got a call from Frank Wall, who said they have an opening in Babe Ruth League. They're expanding, and they want another coach. Are you interested? So I said, yeah, why not? I'm still young enough, and so I went and coached. We were 0-18. We didn't win a game, but I realized that I was better suited for Babe Ruth League than I was for Little League, and so I ended up Babe Ruth League through the 80s until I got married. Then for a couple of years, I was out of baseball, but then fortunately I had three boys, and they came back through Little League, and I got back involved again. And then my youngest, who kind of more like me as far as liking the athletics and the baseball, when he left, when he came through the ranks and got to Babe Ruth League, I got back in again, and I've been there back in Babe Ruth League for I think it's about 10 years now. So I was there for 20, and then went through Little League, and then came back, so back for another 10. So,
and you and I were talking before we came on air, and I, very often you'll find parents that will get involved in coaching because his or her child is in the sport, and so they want to be part of that.
Yep.
And then very often when that person's child leaves the sport, they tend to kind of take a step back from the coaching. You've continued, even though you kind of don't have a skin in the game, as they say.
Sure.
What is it about working with the youth of Norwood that keeps you coming back as part of the Babe Ruth program?
Working with the kids, it's just fun to go down the field. I think I enjoy the practices. You're down there, you're getting the sweat going like you used to when you were playing either pitching or hitting. You're trying to teach. I like teaching.
Yeah.
Seeing how you can communicate and get your points across to people. In baseball has been great. And then, the games are like a test. So you get on the field, you hand out the test, and we prepared this week, and some weeks you are and some weeks you aren't, but then you do it because it's what we got to work on this week, and we go back and do it. And it's just fun. It's fun being around the kids. They got they usually have good attitude, and we have really good baseball players in Norwood, but we have great kids. They're better kids than they are sports, and we've had a slew, and we have a slew now of really good kids. But the parents have done a great job, and the schools have done a really good job too.
Yeah, getting kids ready to play baseball, is part of what you're going through here. But this summer had to certainly present significant challenges to you this year.
Sure.
Walk us through, if you could, kind of what you had to do to kind of get the season up and running.
I work very closely. I'm, I guess, the secretary of Babe Ruth League, but John Laya is the president. and Letty and myself would go back and forth, and I think like every sports organization in Massachusetts, we're waiting for Charlie Baker's proclamation about what's going to happen, and then are we going forward, and just trying to keep people abreast of when things are going to happen. And so when he finally gave the go-ahead for stage 2, it was like 10 people on the field with a couple of adults, and so I work with the recreation department, Travis Farley, who worked with the Board of Health, and we were just saying, can we get going? Team practices, we probably have more than one parent, and then can we have tryouts? And they said, and we explained what we would do, and we got positive feedback. Sure, go right ahead, and that's kind of how we got going. And then Little League, they talked about it, but I think there was an issue with the real young kids.
Right, yeah.
But they stepped up.
Yeah.
They had a plan in place that after July 4th, that they would put together something for I think it's mostly 9, 10, 11, and 12s to pick up, and that's what you saw down the field.
Yeah, it was great. It really was.
You heard the same thing I heard.
Yes,
It's thank God there's something normal in our lives.
Good, yeah.
So that's kind of how it evolved. So we worked with the town officials and got it going. So fortunately, I would send out the emails, and I got a couple of responses back of, oh, thank goodness,
Yes.
Something normal.
Yeah.
So it's worked out great.
My neighbor's 2 boys both play on the Cubs this year and loved it. It worked out so well. I guess not in the playoffs, but up until that point they had. And again, I think it was that chance to get back outside, to be back out with your friends and teammates,
Yes.
to be playing, to be active, and I think from a parent standpoint, to be able to get outside, to watch their child, play and be part of that. So it worked out. It worked out very well. And as I understand, playoffs for the Babe Ruths are going on as we speak, right?
There's games going on right now. Wednesday. Actually, the Cubs played a great game.
Yeah, I heard.
They lost in extra innings, and Dan Harrington and those guys did a great job. And we lost Saturday, but the semifinal. So we have 8 teams. Mm-hmm. We have like the knockout game that everybody dreads. It's like one game, you win or you lose, and the season's over, or else you go into the semifinals, which is 2 out of 3. So you get another life. Semifinals are going on now, and the Angels are playing the Rangers, and they lead that series, and the White Sox are leading the Dodgers 1-0, and they're both playing tonight at the respective fields. So,
it's worked out really well, and you talk about being part of as a volunteer, coaching and giving back to the program. You were mentioning again before we came on about some of the young kids now that are coming back, the Chris Quinns of the world, the Scotty O'Briens that had come up through you and underneath your tutelage that are now coaching and part of the Dodgers and the Cubs and whatnot. Speak to that, to the kids that come back and help out.
I think maybe it's this year that it happened, because a lot of people were either working from home or they just got out of school. But this year we've got some young guys. You mentioned Scotty, Mike McDonough, Matt Giannetti, who's still in school. They're helping the Dodgers. I was fortunate enough to have Peter Kelly and George Coleman, Timmy Grenham, Tyler Barrett from my team last year come down to help out. But they're young enough to they played this summer as well. Yeah. But other guys, Chris Quinn helped out with the Cubs, and we sit around the last couple of years. I'd say, my God, we are a bunch of old guys here. we need some infusion, and I think coaching is one of those things that when you start doing it, you kind of get on to help out, and then if you really like it, it kind of gets into you. Like this is a lot of fun.
It is.
There's some stuff that you have to deal with, but for the most part, it's a lot of fun. Yep. You meet a lot of really nice people. The kids are fun to be around, and when all is said and done, it's just it's a good time, and you enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And like I said, my neighbors have enjoyed it. It was so refreshing to see it going on down there, down at Wallfield and all that. Just it felt like summer again.
Exactly.
Before we wrap up, I love the shirt. I mean, that's the old. That's a classic. That's a classic.
Yeah, I think I wear a different one every day of the week. I think.
I love that. you know, in addition to coaching in the summer, you're pretty active, and you and I were talking about you and Brian in terms of marathons.
Oh yeah, Brian McDonough. Yeah, we get involved in doing marathons. We used to run out of the Norwood Civic Center, and so one night, instead of myself, Brian, and Bobby Laurie, after our usual run, instead of matriculating to the southeast corner of the town common, I said, you know, Bill Rogers, his coach, is giving a talk on running in Boston at Boston State, Billy Squires. So we go in, we're in there, he's talking, and then someone asked, well, what if you're going to get ready for a marathon in a couple of months? And so we said, yeah, he laid out like a schedule.
Yeah.
So we get in the car, come back to the southeast corner, and next thing you know, Brian and Bobby are talking about, so when are we going to start? I'm like, guys, I just wanted to go in and listen to the guy, get some ideas, and sure enough, 2 months later, in the middle of March, so this is like January 1st, middle of March, the three of us ran a marathon up in Lowell, and it's nuts when I think about it, because Brian and Bobby did like a 3:09 and a 3:13, which is you know, I did a 3:30.
Wow.
But then every year after that it was like a marathon in the fall. But when I think back, I look at the times now and I go, we were kind of nuts. We didn't know better.
You
didn't know better. You know, you're not supposed to run that fast.
Exactly. Well, I think that's fantastic that you're able. You know, you keep going, and you can never. You know, you can always stop there. You know.
You still do. After the tricky try, you get a free drink.
That's right. That's right.
You can't let that go to waste.
Not at all.
Yeah.
George, I want to thank you not only for coming down here tonight, but you know the countless hours and years that you have put in to this program. You know, I mean, this is all volunteer work that you guys do. You and all the coaches and all the volunteers on the boards.
There's a lot of guys behind the scenes, a lot of coaches, the equipment, you know, taking care of the umpires. There's a lot of people in Little League, Babe Ruth League, any of these leagues that put in their time, and you know, I don't hear too many people complain.
No,
about
it's
it.
really
they
well
just
run.
Do it.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and so. Pleasure. Thank you. You know, on behalf of certainly all of the parents and the kids that are playing, obviously not only now, but have come up through the program and have seen the success of our Norwood baseball program. So thank you for all that.
It's been my pleasure and our pleasure to do it.
It's been
great.
Thank
you very much, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, George. And we'll be right back.